Lesson 17, Anahata Chakra. Anahata Chakra is the heart chakra. It's the fourth chakra from the bottom, and it is the first chakra that is not related to lower emotions and desires. So below the diaphragm, Muladhara Chakra, Svadhisthana Chakra, and Manipura Chakra, they are all related to lower emotions and desires. Below the diaphragm, for most people, unconditioned people, that is where people's consciousness is located. The center of gravity of consciousness of most people, therefore, is below the diaphragm, and it explains why most people are suffering all the time, thinking that that is normal, that that is part of life. It is also the reason why people experience conflict all the time, because whatever happens, they will always react with an emotion. And it also shows why it is important to condition ourselves to make energy rise up. Because in the universe, there is this universal law or natural law that energy is always gravitating to the bottom. Condensation. That is how the planets came into being. That is how we manifested into physical matter. But it's also why energy has a tendency to be below the diaphragm, leading to people functioning based on lower emotions and desires, mostly. So the whole system of yoga is designed to let energy rise, to go against that natural process of condensation to the bottom, gravitation towards the bottom. And the importance of that is, of course, clear, because the heart and the throat, of course, also, are related to emotions and desires, but we call them higher emotions and desires. So we have a distinction. Below the diaphragm, we call it lower emotions and desires. It's those that often cause our suffering and conflicts. Above the diaphragm, we call them higher emotions and desires. That distinction kind of indicates that the ones above the heart, the ones above the diaphragm, the heart and the throat, are preferable, or at least more positive, better to manifest, to experience. The limitation, however, is that in many people, the heart and the throat are not really functioning. They may have moments in which it is triggered because of circumstances, coincidental, but for the rest of the time, there is no real amount of energy to speak of that allows those centers to function. That is why we have the expression that people are heartless. People are literally heartless. You are heartless because there is no energy in the heart. And when there is no energy in the heart, you don't care about other people or animals or nature. You have no empathy, you have no sympathy, you have no compassion. So, one of the greatest goals in yoga is to activate the heart chakra. And the heart chakra is also important because the heart chakra is directly related to the crown chakra. The crown chakra contains our royal characteristics, but they don't manifest through the crown chakra. Those characteristics of the crown chakra manifest through the heart. So that is why there is a relationship between the crown chakra and the heart chakra. The importance of the heart chakra can also be found in pictures of Jesus Christ. One thing that I noticed when I came to Korea and I would socialize with Korean people and visit their homes, if they were Christian or Catholic, almost invariably, when entering the home, there would be a picture on the wall with Jesus Christ, but not just Jesus Christ, but with a burning heart. The burning heart is the characteristic of a truly spiritual person. In Christianity, we call it a saint. Every yoga practitioner will become a saint. You notice that already in the beginning of your journey on the path of yoga. People who start practicing yoga soon experience increasing sensitivity, which is the heart becoming active. So the spark is already there in the very beginning. Now, the longer you continue on the path of yoga or any form of real spirituality, there are many fake ones too, any path of real spirituality will lead more and more to a manifestation of the heart chakra. And after years of development, you will have this burning heart phenomenon that you see symbolically in the pictures of Jesus Christ or other great saints or holy people. You become a holy person too. That is, for many people, that seems like something unrealistic or unattainable or maybe even not existing at all when you're really skeptical. But the burning heart or being holy or a saint really is something that happens to you when you start functioning on your heart chakra. When you function on your heart chakra, how do you express yourself? Everything is love. Not romantic love, but compassionate love. Care. You care about everything. When you see suffering, it hurts you, while other people just pass by and they don't care. In yoga, you see that people who have reached the highest levels of development, you see that their name refers to the heart chakra because they have Ananda in their name. So in their development, their name is constantly changing. And at the highest level of development, Ananda is added to their name. Ananda means love. It's bliss. And it is an indication that the heart chakra is functioning, that the heart chakra is open. I've experienced the opening up of the heart chakra, and it was really scary in a certain way. But at the same time, it was beautiful. Isn't that strange? The reason why that happens is because there is so much energy involved. And if you experience large amounts of energy, it's unstable. It's like overwhelming. You feel overwhelmed. So it's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's, of course, a wonderful experience. So, a couple of things about the heart chakra. There are yogis who say your heart chakra, your heart, your physical heart, has a limited number of heartbeats. Yeah? So they say, based on that number of heartbeats, that will determine your age. So they say exercising is bad for you. Because when you exercise, your heart rate goes up and you waste a lot of heartbeats. Does that make sense? Absolutely not. When you exercise, your heart rate goes up. True. But when you rest, your heart rate goes down much lower than in a person who doesn't exercise. So while you spend more heart, if it is true, I don't believe that the heart has a limited number of heartbeats. I don't. But when people say something like that, my argument is, if you exercise regularly and you're healthy, your heart rate when you rest is around 50, 53, 54. While a person who never exercises, their average heart rate is like 70, 80 when they rest. So in fact, they are spending much more. Anyway, it's moot. It's a useless argument, but just in case you are confronted with people who say, you know, you have a limited number of heartbeats, so don't exercise because you're wasting heartbeats. The argument should be, when you're healthier because of exercise, you actually spend much less heartbeats, so you will get older. And of course, people who regularly exercise, they do get older. And it just doesn't make sense. The argument just doesn't make sense. A little bit limited logic there. The heart chakra has a secondary chakra. I think I mentioned it before. It's called Kalpataru chakra. I mentioned it when we talked about the difference between wanting and wishing, or wanting and hoping. So if you have the heart chakra here, there is a secondary chakra. It's called Kalpataru. Kalpataru means wishing tree. Of course, there is no tree in your heart chakra, but what it means is that people who function based on the heart chakra have the ability to manifest their dreams and their wishes. And I think I explained this already a little bit, because it was very much related to non-desire and contentment. It's also related to what we talked about last week when we talked about Manipura chakra and the phenomenon of the physical will in Manipura chakra, that in spiritual people teams up with the mental will in Ajna chakra. People who function based on wanting, which is Manipura chakra, they want everything instantly. They have no patience. They have no idea of process. They have no idea of gradual development. When they feel the need for something, they want it immediately. Or to say it with a smile, yesterday, I want it yesterday. But this always leads to disharmony. It always leads to conflict with the outside world, with the environment, or the people involved in the processes. While when you have the ability to wish, notice that what I just mentioned before is that the heart chakra is directly is a direct manifestation of the crown chakra. And remember, the crown chakra is where hope is located. Hope is the opposite of wanting, although it seems the same. But hope is something that you carry in your heart. While wanting is in your belly. You just want something and get it done. Hope is something in your heart. You know that you can't get it directly without breaking the rules. Violence, lying, stealing, etc. So, because you know that, because you have a heart, you cannot break those rules. You carry that wish in your heart. And every time you think of it, you feel good. You feel your energy circulating in large amounts. And even when you're in very bad circumstances, when you think of that particular issue that you carry in your heart, you feel good. regardless of the circumstances that you're in. And it gives you hope, it gives you perspective for the future. You may be in really bad situation now, but you know that you will go somewhere where everything will be better. This is how you can work in a job that you actually hate. Because you know it's only temporary, it's a stage, it's part of the process that you're in. And you need to go through it to be able to reach your hope, your dream or your wish. It is the hope that allows people to have the strength to deal with situations that other people wouldn't be able to deal with. Because you know you're going somewhere. And you know you deep inside your heart. There are so many of these expressions that relate to the heart. Deep inside your heart, you just know that you will get there. Your mind is in doubt. Your mind tells you through the belly, your mind will tell you it's never going to happen. It's impossible. But in moments of silence, in moments of sattva, you connect with the heart and you just know, you can't explain it, but you just know that it is possible and you will get there. It is the crown chakra manifesting through the heart that gives you courage and hope. And that is what enables spiritual people to do the impossible. And one of those things is manifesting your wishes. As long as you believe in it. And this is also one of the reasons why being on a spiritual path is not easy. It's just much easier to not believe in anything. It's much easier to just dismiss everything and just be cynical and be gray and be boring and be unhappy for the rest of your life, because that's what most people are. But when you have a heart, you have hope, you have dreams, your life may not be wonderful all the time, but inside you do feel good, you feel wonderful, you feel you have a purpose, you have somewhere to go. Something that in your moments of silence you can just be with, can feel, can dream of. And you know, children have this ability naturally. Children dream of their favorite toy, they dream of being a nurse or a lawyer or a pilot. But the older we get, the more we lose that ability. But children, they are small physically, but their energy ball is huge. So their energy is everywhere, including in the crown chakra. The only thing with children is they have not developed yet. But while we develop, all that energy shrinks. So the body grows, the energy shrinks, and it goes away from the crown chakra, from Ajna chakra, from the throat and the heart, and it just settles in the bottom. And you can see that if you look at children and you look at how they evolve and compare them when they are adults, you can see that process taking place. And maybe you recognize it in yourself also, but then you also realize once you discovered yoga, you got it back. You got that childish, childish sounds negative, the childlike ability to dream, to be in the clouds with simple things. It comes back when you start practicing yoga. One of the important characteristics of the crown chakra also is, you know, I mentioned hope and courage. But the reason why you are able to believe in a dream is because you also have vision. Vision allows you to see that whatever it is that you want, which mentally seems to be impossible, you see in the crown chakra, intuitively, you see there is a process. That process simply requires that you must go through certain steps. And you realize that every step allows you to go to the next development. And that makes you realize also that if you don't go through the previous step, you will not be able to go to the next step. So you cannot skip the steps in the process to get to where you want to be. If you don't function in the crown chakra, you don't see that, so you just say it's impossible. As a spiritual person, you have vision. Vision, insight. You see that there are steps to be taken. And that you cannot get there without going through those steps. So it's all about I say it again. Many people think spirituality is a luxury. It's not. The more people possess it, the more wonderful our world will become, our society will become. There are just so many wonderful characteristics that develop with the manifestation of the crown chakra, with spiritual practices, spirituality. All right, the subtle element, tamatra. Let me explain the Sanskrit word also. Element is matter. Matra, the Sanskrit word matra, means matter. But it also means mother. There is a very interesting link, because a mother manifests life into matter by giving birth to a baby. Yeah? So the subtle element, the tamatra, is air. Literally, the air in the heart is what keeps us straight. It's called udana prana. Udana prana is the subtle energy. People who are bent, people who are lacking energy in their heart chakra, they become bent and they look miserable. Have you really? Very sad. People who lack energy in the heart, with time, they become more and more bent. And they look sad and miserable and as if they're always hurt. Yeah? When you start practicing, I don't know if you noticed, when I started practicing yoga, one of the first things that people started saying to me is, hey, you are so straight. Physically, so straight. That is because udana prana lifts you. It's like a hot air balloon. So when you have a hot air balloon, there's a basket. So you can ride the hot air balloon. It is the hot air, which in a human being is udana prana from the heart chakra, that makes the balloon go up. So as a yoga practitioner, maybe you have noticed that you really feel lighter. You feel lighter. If you stand on a scale, you're not lighter. You're still the same weight, but you feel lighter. When you go up the stairs, you take 2 steps at the same time instead of 1 at a time. When you walk, you feel like walking on springs, on a cloud. That's udana prana. Lacking udana prana makes you heavy and literally makes you bent over time. The subtle vehicle of action, karmandriya. Action, karma. Kr, the Sanskrit word kr means do. So, the subtle vehicle of action, the physical function here, is called, in Sanskrit, is called karmandriya. You see the word kr coming back there. It's grasp. It's what babies do all the time, grabbing. So when you stick out your finger, the baby will then grab onto your finger. It's a function of the heart chakra. But also, when you're in a shop and you're looking at something of desire, a diamond or a nice accessory, you will note, if you pay attention, people do this subconsciously, they don't know what they're doing, but if you pay attention, you will notice that you want to touch it. You want to grab it. Grabbing nice things, touching nice things, makes you feel good. We will come back to that with the next one. The subtle organ of perception, the Snanandriya. Snana is knowledge. Remember, Snana yoga is not really a yoga, it's the development of the intellect. So the Snanandriya, the organ of perception, is the touch or skin. Now when I was a baby and a toddler, I had a teddy bear. I come from a big family, we had 2 teddy bears. We had to share them. But my older siblings, they didn't need a teddy bear anymore. So I and my other 1 year older brother, we still had a teddy bear. I had a soft and fluffy one. And I didn't like the other one because it didn't feel soft and fluffy. As a child, you don't understand, of course. And it took me decades to understand why this is important, why children need something. It can be a teddy bear. A lot of children like just a piece of cloth. I also, as a child, I always had a favorite blanket. And my mom understood that. When I was an adult, she gave me that blanket to have with me when I moved to live on my own. A soft and fluffy. You know what happens when you touch something pleasant? It makes sattva in your heart chakra. So it's spiritual. But children, when they put their thumb in their mouth and they touch something that they like, they become sattvic, they become dreamy. And they feel good. As an adult, it's still important. That's why you like to wear clothes that feel comfortable. There are so many different kinds of clothes and many good-looking clothes, but I always come back to cotton or wool because it feels good. It feels nice. Every time I try something synthetic, it just makes me feel itchy. I don't know. It doesn't feel good. It's because of this. It just disturbs, the synthetic fiber disturbs the sattva in the heart chakra. So the subtle energy, Udana Prana, I mentioned already, the hot air balloon phenomenon, the color green. So we haven't talked very much about the colors yet, except for the Muladhara chakra, the color red. But subconsciously, color has a very big influence on how we function. And the marketing industry knows that. Where do you see the color red? McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Marlboro, all consumption articles. It explains also why those brands are so successful. McDonald's hamburgers are not really good quality. I mean, you can get much better, right? And yet, it's the biggest fast food chain in the world. Coca-Cola, well, if you dissect it, you discover that 1/3 of the contents is sugar. And if you have rust on your car, you can actually remove the rust. You know what rust is, right? Rust. You can remove it with Coca-Cola. If you put a piece of meat in a little bowl with Coca-Cola and you leave it there for a day or two, it's gone. So, but it's the most popular soft drink in the world. They use the color red. And they've always been fighting with Pepsi Cola. Pepsi Cola wants to be the first, but they can't. They use blue. The first, you know the car brand Ferrari? Yeah? Well, when Ferrari was a product of passion, Italian sports car was a product of passion. It was not built for commercial purpose in the first place. When I was a child, when you saw a Ferrari, it was only one color. Red. You could not buy a Ferrari in another color 50, 60 years ago. Because everything has become commercialized. Not only yoga, also cars. You can now get a Ferrari in black, in yellow, in white. But that's not how it started. It was a product of passion, and it was designed to appeal to your raw emotion, instinct. So only one color, red. Still, in Formula One is represented by car brands. Ferrari is participating, is red. They've never changed the color in car racing. Where do you see the color green in marketing, except for the mats? Green and blue, where do you see those colors? In finance. You know why? Because they want to appeal to your sense of trust. A bank with the color red won't survive. Can you name a bank with the color red? It doesn't exist anymore in Korea. When I came to Korea, there was Seoul Unheng and there was Boram Unheng. They used the color red. That's a long time ago. They used the color red. But when they merged with other banks, they got rid of that color red and they started following the marketing principles. Shinhan Unheng is blue. All the banks use blue or green. And insurance companies and finance companies almost all use the color green. There are some exceptions. KB. Yeah, yellow and brownish. Yeah, so there are some exceptions, but generally it's blue and green. Nongyop, I think Nongyop is green, uses green, and yeah. All right, the heart chakra. To stimulate the heart chakra, in asana, you have the exercises where you use your arms. I mentioned already when we did forward bend with the hands behind the back. The purpose of your hands behind your back, yoga teachers will say that's good for your shoulders, but remember, in real yoga you don't talk about physical aspect of yoga. It's about energy. And that is much more interesting than your shoulders and your elbows and your wrists, which of course also are affected by an exercise like that. But much more important is that the energy that you generate with the action of the legs is being pulled up forcibly to the heart chakra by putting your arms in such a strained position. A Bhujangasana, we haven't done that yet. We will learn that within this course. Mayurasana, the peacock pose, that is of course a very powerful exercise, not only for Manipura chakra, but the arms. The arms are put under enormous strain in Mayurasana. So exercises where you use your arms directly stimulate the heart chakra. You also see that beginner poses, beginner asanas, are almost all about the legs and the hips. The most advanced poses in yoga are arm balances. There are many different kinds of arm balances. A handstand, of course, is one of them. Standing on your hands upside down, not the headstand, but the handstand. But there is a Kukutasana, there is a, those exercises where you're in Padmasana and you push yourself up, and there are two elements present in all the advanced yoga asanas: arms and balance. Balancing is highly stimulating for energy to rise up because it is part of the throat chakra. So the heart is directly related to the crown chakra. The throat chakra is, of course, directly related to the higher chakras also. You will see after in the second session today when we talk about Vishuddhi chakra, the throat. So, any kind of activity with the arms, of course, stimulates the heart chakra. That can also be going to the gym and lifting weight. If you use your arms, it's stimulating the heart chakra. But working in the garden, where you have to turn over the soil, or working in the garden involves a lot of handwork. Also, if you look at therapeutic or therapies, most therapies involve not only exercise in general. Many therapies involve making walks in nature, swimming, yoga, of course, very therapeutic, but handcraft, doing things with your hands, creating things, using the heart chakra and the throat chakra, creating things, using your hands. Well, then you have the mysterious issue. When I started doing yoga was still very, it was surrounded by a lot of mystery and dogma. But the new generations of people that practice yoga are not really that much connected with the traditional aspects of yoga. So it's more like an exercise for most people that has a little bit a spiritual feel to it. But traditional yogis, they do crazy things. And because we don't understand why they do that, it's surrounded by mystery. Yoga is, there is magic in yoga, just conjuring things or fooling people by doing things that they don't understand. So magic is part of yoga. It's kind of a ritual. But when I explained the story about the Buddha, I told you that he left the palace and joined a group of people that is called the fakirs. You have on page 2, you have the illustration of a person who is lying on a bed of nails. Lying on a bed of nails seems very painful and impossible for most people to do. It is kind of a trick. And if you control your physical movement, you can lie on a bed of nails too. But you have to be very careful, otherwise you hurt yourself. One of the things that yogis also do, or did, traditional yogis, is they have themselves buried. So they lower their heart rate, and with that, all the physical functions, all the organs go into a mode where they are at a very low level of activity, and they have themselves buried. Sometimes for weeks or even months, they have themselves buried. A normal person, of course, would die within an hour or two. The yogi then is being dug up again, activates his heart again, and is alive. How is this possible? The explanation is that if you have total sattva in the heart, you can reduce the amount of air that you need, because the subtle element is air. And that is a little bit a story that is not easy to rationally explain, but what it does show is the incredibly high level of control that they have developed. And that is also why they do these crazy things. It's not to show off, but it is to prove that they are truly a yogi. Because if you're not, you wouldn't be able to lie on a bed of nails or walk on glass or burning coal or have yourself buried for weeks or months and still be alive when they dig you up. But if you look at it, what they are doing is something that animals in nature do. They go into hibernation. Hibernation is, in Dutch we call it winter sleep. They go into their hideout when the winter starts, and to survive the winter they just go into a deep sleep without any food or water for like 3 months. And when spring arrives, their biological clock tells them it's time to wake up, and they activate themselves. Yogis apparently have found a way to control that function, to go into hibernation without any damage to their body or their organs or their brain, for that matter. There is an example, a current example of a yogi who claimed not to have eaten or drank anything since he was 11 years old. He says that he feeds himself through a hole he feeds himself with divine energy through a hole in the palate, which is Shiva energy. The name of this yogi, he died last year or 2 years ago. But it's a very interesting story, because he claimed that since he was 11, he said that when he was 11 years old, he was touched by God. And ever since then, he never ate or drank anything. His name is Prahladyani. Very easy to find. If you search for him. Prahladyani claimed he never ate or drank, so Indian researchers put him into a hospital. The first time they did, I don't know exactly the date, but they did it twice. They did the experiment twice with him, with 10 years in between. So when he was in his 60s or 70s, they put him in a hospital with 24-hour-a-day surveillance for 10 days. 24 hours a day surveillance. And they noticed that he never ate and drank. He never went to the toilet, ever. Because nobody, of course, believed when he said, I never eat or drink. A normal person, if you stop eating, you can survive 10 days. But if you stop drinking, you die. It's impossible. So 24 hours with observation cameras, 24 hours a day total surveillance. And he was just sitting there. He never ate, drank, or went to the toilet. 10 years later, they did it again. And they put him in the same circumstance, 14 days. And they just couldn't catch him eating or drinking or going to the toilet. He feeds himself with Shiva energy. Shiva energy is responsible for literally feeding ourselves. I think the person who edited the file made a footnote. I don't have the file myself, that's why I'm using Tongmi's pad. But at the bottom of page 1 or page 2, there is a footnote that explains Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha, the feeding principle. The Pralajani proves that if you control the energy to very high level, you can actually live without actual food and water by feeding yourself with Shiva energy. A normal person, we need solid food and water in combination with Shiva energy. Shiva energy is very important. That's why it's so important that we rest. If you don't rest enough, you start looking very unhealthy, you don't feel good. Because resting is important, because when you rest, you take in lots of Shiva energy to recover from your activities. So that is explained in the footnote. The footnote is there, right? I cannot find it so quickly in the handout here, but I'm pretty sure I saw it this morning when I prepared for the class and read the file. All right, the developmental stage of this chakra is between the age 22 and 28. It is the time of your big love, and it is the time of idealism. So we see in Manipura chakra, or we saw in Manipura chakra, the developmental stage between 15 and 21 is rebellion. That is when people start rioting. But when it comes to protesting, peaceful protesting is not done by teenagers, right? It's done by university students in the age range of 21 to 28. Idealism. You stand up for your principles. You know, very interestingly, if you look at your society, I saw this in Amsterdam growing up. You have these people that are always protesting, right? And what do they often protest against? Is authority. They protest against the government. Now, very interesting what you see happening is that the people that protested when they were in university, in the age range of this development of the heart chakra, protesting against the government and authority, they become the government and the authority in the next development stage. Very interestingly. They become what they so violently protested against, or so passionately protested against. I don't know if that happened in Korea too. In Amsterdam, it was really so clear. The people that are in government now are the ones that were on the barricades 30 years ago protesting. It's very interesting to observe human nature and how people can just completely change based on the developmental stages of the chakras. That is also why the chakras are so interesting. Many people talk about the chakras, but they don't really know what they are or how they function. They have very practical influence on how we are functioning. Also very interesting is people, at least in the West, people say, this is yoga, this is from the Orient, from India, Eastern philosophy. But in the West we also say life has developmental stages of 7 years. 7 years pass and then big change will come, like it or not. It just happens like that. And I noticed 7 years, there's 7 years something is going on, And like it or not, change will come. And the development of the chakras is very intriguing to see that it's not just a theory or a philosophy. Also, of course, it's not accurate science, because it can be 6 years or 8 years. It's not exactly to the day 7 years. It's just a period approximately 7 years. But you will see that there are cycles in life that are approximately that long. And you then reach a point where you have a breakthrough, that things just start to evolve and manifest in kind of a natural way. It may be something that you have wished for a long time, but got frustrated because it seems impossible to achieve or manifest, and then it just very naturally happens. But it's not only always good, huh? Sometimes you have a period of misery that is just necessary to make you grow. Now finally, no, not finally yet, about unconditional love. You understand unconditional love, but are you capable of practicing unconditional love? It is very difficult. Everybody has conditions. I do this for you, but you must do that for me. And that's where the misery starts. When you fall in love, you are in a pink cloud, right? You feel amazing, you feel wonderful, you feel in love. But then, why you feel like that is because all your energy is here. All right? Not because you did yoga, but because of the phenomenon of falling in love. Because falling in love triggers your heart very strongly, whether you're spiritual or not. So you're in the clouds, you're in the seventh heaven, which is, of course, the crown chakra, seventh heaven. But do you stay in seventh heaven? Do you stay in the clouds when you're in a relationship? Why? Because of conditions. Yeah? So you fall in love, everything is beautiful, and you see the world through pink glasses. But soon, after you formalize the relationship, and you become a little bit more serious about your relationship and start thinking about the future, the conditions come. You can't help it. Because while you fell in love, your energy was in the crown chakra, but now your energy is simply going down again, and you start functioning based on your lower emotions and desires. So you say, I want this and I want that. And I don't want you to do this and I don't want you to do that. And that is where the misery starts in a relationship. What is this about? You have to let each other go. I don't have a password on my computer and my phone. And I don't mind if my partner wants to use my computer or use my phone. I have nothing to hide. And I don't want to see my partner's phone or computer. I don't want to know. That is unconditional love. And if my partner wants to travel, yeah, go. I will drop you off at the airport. Why not? I don't say, I'm going to miss you and I don't want you to leave me and don't talk with other men and behave yourself. No, just go. You know, why this is important is because how do you feel if you're with a partner who has all kinds of demands and restrictions. You feel like a prisoner and you start to hate that person. This is one of the most difficult things to do. Why? Because it's about trust. You cannot practice unconditional love with everybody. Or you can, but it means you're not fit to be with everybody. Because the person that you give your heart to, literally, must be a person that will not step on your heart. It must be a person that will not misuse your ability of unconditional love. It must be a person that will not harm you because you are unconditional, that they think I am free to do anything I like, that harms you. You understand? When I talked about this subject a long time ago, there was one student who I think she felt like she's capable of unconditional love, but she noticed that boys were abusing that ability. So she felt indignified because of that. She asked me, Ron, what if I have a feeling that I'm being used as a doormat? You know what that means, being used as a doormat? Is people just, men or women, depending on which side of the relation, they just come and go without any commitment. They just use you for sex, for care, but then they have no commitment, and there's no give and take, there is no trust. My answer to that was, if people use you and betray your trust, you should not allow that to happen. It means it's not the right person to be with. Because you have a dignity. You understand the word dignity, right? When people betray your trust because you are a good person, it really hurts you. It really affects you deeply. It breaks your heart. It means that person does not qualify to be with you. You understand that? So what this means is that you become selective. You become picky. Because you will only want to be with a person where you feel harmony, where you feel trust. Both ways. Not only one person being capable of unconditional love, but if you can find, it may be very difficult, but if you can find a relationship like that, you're free, while at the same time committed to the relationship. Unconditional love. What does this require? Courage. Only people with energy in the crown chakra are capable of unconditional love. And you will make mistakes. I have made mistakes, of course. But when you make mistakes, you do it consciously and you correct yourself. You have to trust your partner. But you can only trust a partner that can be trusted. If your partner betrays your trust, you need to move on. Of course, you can have a conversation about it, and if your partner is sincere, they will admit, because we're only human. Yeah, so you are human, I am human, I make mistakes, you make mistakes. If you talk about it and you have a very reasonable conversation, you can move on together. But if your partner says, oh, well, I don't care, then you know that is not the right person to spend the rest of your life with. Yeah? Unconditional love. If you look, most relationships, people are not happy. I've been single for 7 years, while my friends are all married or in a relationship. And every time we meet, they say, oh, you are so lucky you're still single. Then I say, you are so lucky you're in a relationship. You understand what is going on here? I was single for 7 years for a reason, because I needed time to grow, to evolve, to process previous relationship, the pain. But I'm really good when I'm alone, but I also want to be with somebody, to share. I want to go to the supermarket together with somebody. I like going to Costco or Emart together and just, pick things from the shelf together and decide about what to eat together. And I was always doing that alone, and that felt a little bit, empty heart. But I know that I needed that time, and I also knew if I just am patient, the universe will just make somebody cross my path, that there is this karmic attraction. Karma makes that you feel attracted to each other. And sooner or later, when you're ready, you will find a person again that you want to be with. And that is exactly what happened. But most people in a relationship, they want to be alone. You know why? That is because of all the conditions. They feel trapped. They feel stuck. And that's sad. And some of those friends I'm talking about, they have studied yoga with me. Not only this course, but also advanced course and master course. They should know better, but they forgot. So they want to be alone, and I would be so happy to finally be able to do things together with someone again. Unconditional love is one of the most difficult things to do, but try to implement it into your life. Try to find people with whom you can spend time. It doesn't have to be a serious relationship, but without people telling you what to do or what they like about you or what you shouldn't do or cannot do, or just people who just accept you as you are, without criticism, without demands, without prohibitions, without telling you you cannot do this and you are not allowed to do that. And when I talk with people who are in relationships, it's very often about this. Conflict occurs because of the conditions. The last thing, I mentioned it before, but I will mention it again, it's important. One of the symbols in the heart chakra is the Star of David. And the reason for that is, I didn't describe it very clear in the handout, but I told you before. Because this is actually the yoga yin-yang model. And it is actually much clearer than the yin-yang model. The Star of David is two triangles, one pointing up, that is symbol for Shakti energy rising, and the other triangle is pointing down as a symbol for Shiva energy descending. Now, in most people, the Shiva and Shakti are not balanced. So the triangles are separated, one way or another, not together. The symbol of the Star of David, it's called the Star of David because the Jewish people use it as a symbol. It's in the Israeli flag. But it's also an Indian, an ancient Indian symbol that reflects the magic that occurs when Shiva and Shakti are in harmony at the level of the heart chakra. So this is the heart. Shiva and Shakti are in balance at this point, symbolized by the two overlapping triangles, which is when the heart manifests, opens up. The highest level of development for a yogi is to have that harmony in the heart chakra and the heart, the burning heart phenomenon occurring as a result of that. This name, I wrote the name wrong, it's Praladyani. And another thing about the heart chakra, it has another symbol of the heart chakra is a deer, sasami. The deer represents alertness. Alertness. Almost, you understand the word alertness? Hypersensitivity. The deer, when the deer is in the forest, is very alert. And when there are other beings or human beings close by, it will immediately run away. The moment that it notices another being, then it will run away. Alertness is important for the heart, especially because of our increased sensitivity. When you wish for something based on purity. If you just wish to be rich just because you want to have money, you're going to hurt yourself. You can achieve it. If you really want to, you can achieve to get rich. You put your mind to it, you work for it, you can get rich. But if you just want to get rich just to be rich, you're going to hurt yourself. If you want to be with a person because that person is influential or physically beautiful or rich, you can do things to be with that person, but then you end up in a lot of misery. You know the story, Ko Yeon-jong. You know Ko Yeon-jong? The very famous Korean drama star. Well, it's a long story, but I had private classes with her long time ago in 1999 or 2000. But Ko Yeon-jong's story is very typical in this regard. Her mom wanted her to be famous. So her mom, apparently, I don't know her mom and I don't know the story, but her mom created a situation that she would become Miss Korea. That is how Ko Yeon-jong's career started with being Miss Korea. And once she was famous because she was Miss Korea, she then became a drama personality, very famous, very popular, very famous. And then her mom set up a situation to become involved with the Samsung family. So the story is that her mom knew that, I forgot his name, but her husband at that time, before they got married, before they met, he was in a hotel in New York. So Ko Yeon-jong's mom arranged for Ko Yeon-jong to go to New York and accidentally meet with the son of the Samsung president, who at that time was Shinsegae president. And so her mom set that up. You know the story of Ko Yeon-jong. It's all misery and sadness, and she divorced, of course. She got married with Shinsegae president, chairman, and was very unhappy in that big house on the hill in Itaewon with all that money. And because she was so unhappy, scandal after scandal happened until the Samsung family said, enough is enough. You have to divorce now. She had 2 children. Then her mother-in-law demanded she have a 3rd child. And she hated that. So she started drinking a lot. Because she drank a lot of just scandals occurred And the final scandal that happened is that she was driving a Porsche at night in the weekend. She went to Pampo Riverside with the Porsche, and she met two American guys there, probably from the army. And while they were drunk, they stole her car. So she was just chatting with them and drinking with them, and then they got into her Porsche and they drove away with her car. And that is when the Samsung family said, enough, no more scandals. And after that, she became happy again. After the divorce, she was free. She became a drama star again. This is a long time ago, more than 20 years ago. And she became happy again. So all that money, all that influence, it killed her. So we're talking about the deer in the heart chakra. Pay attention to everything that you feel, especially the subtle signals that you get. You have to learn to follow your heart more and more. When you feel something is off, it means that something is off. It's a warning. But we ignore this all the time because we say, yeah, but this is important, or this is good, or this, because we look at it from a mental point of view, or based on greed or interest. We do not realize that if we pursue that, it's going to cause a lot of suffering. So Koyeonjong pursued, or her mom, in combination with her, pursued fortune and fame. It became hell for her. She was living in hell at that time. We are all living in hell until we start paying attention to what our heart is telling us. That is what the deer means in the heart chakra. And that is very important because if you don't pay attention, trying to practice unconditional love will just get you hurt. So the deer means that when functioning as a yogi, doing your best to be unconditional as much as you can, as best as you can, it's not only about you, it's also about how you react to other people's vibrations. If other people's vibrations, if there is greed, if there is conditions, if there is demands or forbidding things, that is a red flag. The deer, the alertness of the deer tells you it's a red flag. Now the reality is, you can only learn this by making mistakes. The theory sounds very nice and it all makes sense, but how do you learn to imply this into daily life, to integrate this into daily life? The only way is to expose yourself, to experiment. Don't be scared, don't be afraid to get hurt. There are people who are sensitive, nice, gentle, they get into a relationship and they get hurt. And you know, their solution to the problem is, I will never have a relationship anymore. That is very sad. Because each time that you have an experience, you learn from it. It's the only way. You will make mistakes, you will get hurt, but it teaches you to be more alert next time. It also means that the way that we look at failure in life, the way that we look at misery in life, suffering, we have to change that. Because objectively, failure and misery are our biggest teachers. We don't learn if we don't make mistakes. So instead of being sad and feeling sorry for ourselves, oh my goodness, look at me, I'm so pitiful. No. You feel the pain and you quickly ask yourself, what happened? Why did it happen? What it is trying to teach me? That is the alertness of the deer. And the next step is that you are ready for another situation where you are better prepared. Because you're developing increasing insight as a result of experience. Without experience, you can't grow. That is also the reason if you are, in the past, if you wanted to follow a spiritual path, you would go to a temple and live there for several years. Or to a monastery, far in the mountains, and live there for several years. To meditate, to study, to grow. But after several years of development, the abbot of the temple will tell you, hey, you can't stay here. You must go down the mountain and live among society. Because if you stay here, you will not develop. You have done all the work, you have done all the meditations, you have studied all those books. Now, the only way to make it work in practice is to go down and live life and expose yourself. Because if you stay in the temple, you'll never grow, you'll never develop. You must come down and learn. And learning, it's just a reality. It happens especially when we expose ourselves and make mistakes and get hurt. So we have to change our perception of failure and mistake. Never give up. Do not have a relationship, get hurt, and then say, the only way to avoid pain is to never have a relationship anymore. You're denying yourself the most beautiful part of life, is interaction with other people. You just have to learn to get better at it. Yeah? All right. Questions? It was very long. All right. Because it's a very interesting subject, the heart chakra is just amazing. Thank you so much for lending me your pad. Would not have been able to go so deep without it. Thank you so much.